Namaskar everyone. Let us begin our Gita study with an opening prayer from the Vedas. This is on page 46 of this book, Universal Prayers. The second one on page 46. Om Vang me manasi pratisthita mano me vachi pratishthitam aviravirma edhi vedasya manistha shrutam me ma prahasi anena adhitena ahoratran sandadhami Ritam vadishyami, satyam vadishyami, tanmamavato tadvaktaramavato, avato mam, avato vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May my speech be fixed in the mind. May my mind be fixed in the speech. O self-manifested Atman, do thou manifest thyself unto me. O my mind and speech, may ye be fit to reveal unto me the highest knowledge. May I not forget what I have heard. Without forgetting what I have heard, what I have learnt, may I be able to study day and night. The right will I speak, the truth will I speak. May Brahman protect me, may Brahman protect the preceptor, may Brahman protect me, may Brahman protect the preceptor. Om peace, may there be peace in our hearts, may there be peace among all beings, may there be peace everywhere in nature. Last time we were studying verse number 5 in chapter 10, where Bhagavan Sri Krishna says that everything originates from him. He is the origin of everything. And he, the Supreme Lord, sustains everything, protects and maintains, sustains everything, and he is the ultimate destination of everything. Everything, all beings, whole of nature, and all the beings in nature, animate, inanimate, they all go back and merge into him at the end of the cycle of their existence. That is the definition of Brahman given in the Upanishad, one of the definitions of Brahman given in the Taittiriya Upanishad. When a student asked the teacher happened to be his father. That was the custom those days. When a student asked his teacher, "Sir, please teach me about Brahman." The father replied like this, that from which everything evolves, that by which everything is sustained, and that into which everything goes back and merges into, that is Brahman. Inquire into that one, meditate on that one, he says. Yato va imani bhutani jayante Yena jatani jivanti yat prayanti abhisammishanti tad brahma tad vijijñāsasva. So in the Upanishad it says, Brahman, the Supreme Reality, is the origin of everything, the source of everything. Some of those things are mentioned in verse number 5. This idea that Brahman is the source of everything has come many times before. It will come again. So verse number 5 said, Ahimsa samata tushtihi tapodanam yasho yashaha bhavanti bhava bhutanam matta eva pratagvidha. Pratagvidha, all kinds of things and all kinds of experiences that all beings have, matta eva, from me alone they originate. Some things like ahimsa, non-violence, samata, equanimity under all circumstances, tushtihi, contentment, and the opposite of all these things too, discontent, not being equanimous under all circumstances, and violence, himsa, they all originate from him. There is only one source for everything. In the Christian belief, they have a separate evil, a devil, which is the source of all evil, negative things, and God, which is source of good things. But here, good and bad are only at the level of manifestation. Originally, they all are same. How everything can be same in the origin, but differentiate into different things, opposite things at the manifested level, can be easily understood by taking the example of the sun. Sun is the source of everything on this planet, source of all energy. Because of sun's energy only everything is possible. Everything we have and what we are is all sun's power only. The food that we eat, the clothes that we wear, the buildings in which we live, they are all expression of manifestation of sun's power. If sun is not there, none of this can exist. But sun itself does not have any distinction of good and bad. He produces energy. But when it comes to the manifested level, then all the differentiation comes. See, Ramakrishna says in the Gospel, sun produces light on everyone. No distinction. But some people use sunlight to do good things, to read scriptures and do good deeds. Some people use the same sunlight they use to do bad things. So at the source there is no good and bad. At the manifested level there is differentiation. Everything has only one source. Bhavanti bhava bhutanam. All these things, these experiences and manifestations, matta eva, from me alone. Why there are differences among the experiences? Pratagvidaha. Some people are happy, some are unhappy, some are sick, some are well. So much differentiation from person to person. Why Pratagvidaha? Because in the commentary Shankara says, according to their karma. Sakarmanarupena nana vidhaha. All differentiation at our level. At the origin there is no good and bad. So the Lord is the source of everything. So that was verse number 5. Now here Bhagavan is going to say in verse number 6 and onwards, he introduces the topic of Vibhuti, which is the topic of this chapter. Vibhuti means the sacred ash that we put along on our foreheads. That is one meaning. Vibhuti really means the glory of God that we see expressed at our level. Everything that we see around us, including our bodies and minds, are all God's power, manifestation of God's power, everything. Inanimate objects, animals, plants, people, good and bad, and nature, sun, star, moon, galaxy, stars and everything. They are all manifestation of God's power only. There is nothing else. So this chapter helps us to see the power of God in everything around us. Some examples are given. Everything. For example, if you see an inanimate object like this table or a chair, it's God's power appearing in that form. Or a human being, good person, bad person, male, female, or the sun. Everything is expression of God's power. How can we see the presence of God in all and everything and everybody, including in wicked people? How can we see God's power? That is being explained with some examples in this chapter, Vibhuti Yoga. Vibhuti means the expression, manifestation of God's power. Vibhuti Yoga. That's this chapter. So that topic begins here, verse number 6. Maharshaya sapta purve chatvaro manavastatha madbhava manasa jata yesham loka ima praja. The translation is the 7 great seers, sages, Saptarishis. The first four sons of Brahma, and also the Manus. It is said there are 14 Manus. Savarnika Manu, Swayambhu Manu. We are now under the reign of Vaivasvata Manu. When we say Sankalpa in South Indian Puja tradition, we say the Manu. Vaivasvata Manvantare Kaliyuge Prathamapade Jambudvipe Bharatavarshe Bharatakhande. Like this, Sankalpa in the beginning of the Puja, we says Vaivasvata Manu, reeling now. 14 Manus are there. Savarniko Manu was in the previous age. So all these 14 Manus, Manavaha, were mind born. Chatvaro Manavastatha Manasa Jata. They were all created by thought of the Lord, Creator, Vishnu. By thinking only, those beings came into existence, first level of creation. From them onwards, other beings came. From Manus, all the human beings came, like that one. Whole nature came from this. Chatvaro Manavastatha Madbhava. They are endowed with my powers. They have the same powers of creation. They created the rest of the creation. And these other beings which we see now, including ourselves, whoever is there, whatever is there, Ima Prajaha Yesham Loka Ima Prajaha. These beings, Ima Prajaha means these beings, not only human beings, animals and plants and nature. They are all the progeny of these original beings. Prajaha means progeny, Ima Prajaha. And these original beings are created mentally by Vishnu, by the Creator, Manasa Jata. And they all have the same power as God. Madbhava, same qualities as God. So the origin, and that is what we are seeing here, the created beings. But they all came from the Lord Himself, Madbhava, Chatvaro Manavasthatha. They all came from me. I am the origin of everything. That idea that He is the origin of everything comes later also. It has come before also. Now, we go to the verse number 7, continuation. Etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yo vetti tattvataha sovyakampena yogena yujyate natra samshayaha. The translation is, whoever knows this vast power and yoga of mine, evam mama vibhutim yogam cha vetti, whoever knows my infinite power and infinite manifestations, vibhuti, in reality, tattvataha, will be endowed with the steady state of integration. Saha avikampena yogena yujyate. Kampanam means variation, vibration, variation. Avikampena yogena means unvarying union with God. Not sporadic or temporary, permanent, unvarying union one with the divine, they will experience. Those who can recognize God's presence in all and everything, vibhuti. We just don't take objects as mere objects, we see the divine presence in them. That is the main thing. If we can do that at all times, in regard to everything, then we are always permanently united with Him. Otherwise, we see good and bad. You see somebody, oh, he's a good person, I like him. Or she is a bad person, I don't like her. If we think like that, we are not seeing the truth. Disregarding the outer appearance of the personality of a person or any object or thing, if you see God there, God's presence there, in that person, in that object, animate or inanimate, then you are seeing the truth. Then we are always unvaryingly combined, united with the Lord. We are never separate from Him. Avikampena yogena yujyate. He becomes united. Such a person who sees God's presence in everything, disregarding the outer shell of appearance. Such a person is always unvaryingly united with God. He is always with God. That came in chapter number 6, verse number 30. Verse number 30, chapter number 6 says, Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam chamaye pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachamena pranashyati. Yaha mam sarvatra pashyati. He who sees me in all, in everything. We see God only, we go to the temple to see God. And we try to see God in that beautiful image in the temple. Marble image or granite image, Rama, Krishna, Rama, Sita, Lakshmana, all those things, Hanuman. We do offer puja there. Chant mantras, offer ashtotra, all those things we offer there. But He is present in all and everything. Right within me and in this table and in all this, in all the people. We disregard His presence in some, try to see His presence only in some. That is not. Yahamam sarvatra pashyati. 6:30, chapter 6, verse 30, important verse. He who sees me in all and everything, sarvatra pashyati. To such a person, I'm never separate from such a person. Sarvam cha maye pashyati. Sees everything in God. There is nothing else other than God. I am not separate from Him. I am not separated from Him at even one moment. He is always combined with me, united with me. Saha avikampena yogena yujyate. Such a person who tries to see God in all and everything is always in communion with me, never separate from me. Atra nasamshayaha. There is no doubt in this one. Now the next question is, I don't see God, I only see the person, male or female, American or Indian, young or old, engineer or doctor. That's what I am saying. How to see God in these people? There are people, good and bad. How to see God's presence in everything, people, animals, plants, inanimate objects, is being explained with many examples in this chapter. Vibhuti Yoga. He will, item by item, he will say, in this object, this is my presence. This is how to see my presence. Like that, he will explain. That is the beauty of this chapter. How to see God in everything. Instruction was given earlier, see God in everything, see me in everything. But here in this chapter, he says, specifically giving examples, day-to-day examples, which we see every day, how to see God's presence. In what way, shape or form is God present in everything is being explained in this chapter. Vibhuti Yoga. So now we go to verse number 8. The same idea that I am the origin of everything comes again here. Verse number 8. Aham sarvasya prabhavah mattas sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitah. Aham sarvasya prabhavah. I am the source of everything. Prabhava means source or origin, from which everything has come. Aham sarvasya prabhavah. I am the source of everything. I am the origin of everything. Everything has come from God. That idea has come before, it will come again throughout the Gita, in the Upanishad also. Mattaha, from me, sarvam pravartate. Everything proceeds, comes out of me. I am the source of everything, everything comes from me. God is the only source of everything. Whatever we see, the whole of nature, people, good people, bad people, animals, plants, stars and galaxies, atom, everything came from the Lord, has come from the Lord, and they will go back unto Him at the end of their cycle of existence. That idea is come many times in the Gita. Iti matva, knowing thus, Buddhaha mam bhajante. Buddha means wise people. Buddha is explained here in the commentary. Avagata paramartha tattvaha. Wise means who have grasped the nature of supreme reality. Those who know the truth. What is the truth? Truth is that everything is come from God. Everything is God actually in the final analysis. There is no God and thing. We are seeing separate things. Many things we are seeing. But the truth is there is only one thing. It appears as the many. One appearing as the many. Why one appears as the many? He says Yoga Maya. He himself makes him appear as many different things. That's his Maya. That's his power. That's his play. That's his divine sport. Leela. Daivi Leela. He is alone present. Sarvam kalu idam brahma. In a short statement, Upanishad says this whole universe with so many different things, good, bad and everything, big and small. Idam sarvam, this whole universe, Brahman alone. Only one thing is there, Advaita Vedanta. But you are seeing many. Why you are seeing many if there is only one? Because that is, Vedanta explains it with the help of the doctrine of Maya. Maya makes us see one as the many. We feel separate. I am separate, everybody is separate. I am individual, separate from different. I am different in this way. I am richer, I know more, or I am poor, I am sick. I distinguish myself from all other beings in many different ways. I don't see the unity behind all of us. If you pierce through the physical layer of our personality, Panchakosha, what remains in all of us? Only one divine being. That will come in many places in the Gita. For example, one place where you can easily remember is chapter 13 verse 2. When you go to that chapter 13, we will study in detail. Chapter 13 verse 2, there one important sentence comes. There Bhagavan says, Kshetrajñam chapi mam vidhi sarvakshetreshu bharata. O Arjuna, sarvakshetreshu, in all the beings, kshetra means body. Human bodies, animal bodies, plant, but they are all kshetras. Kshetra means a field or body. Sarvakshetreshu, in all the bodies, mam ekam kshetrajñam vidhi. Vidhi means know, understand. Me, mam, to be the only indwelling spirit, kshetrajña. Kshetrajña means one who is aware of the body. There is an awareness within the body. That awareness, consciousness is He. How many? Only one. No plural for consciousness. The word consciousness has no plural in any language. Only one. All pervasive pure consciousness is present within us. That is His presence. That is He. That's what we truly are. But due to ignorance of our true nature, we are thinking we are this body, we are the mind, I am good, I am bad, I am sick, I am well, I am rich, I am poor. In every way, bodies are different. At the physical, material level, we are all different, very different from each other. No two people are exactly alike. Even identical twins, there are differences. At the physical, material level of manifestation. But if you go deeper into our personality and see deeper and deeper, we all converge and become one pure consciousness. It is just like gold, for example. This gold example comes in the Upanishads. How many golds are there? Only one gold. All gold is gold only. But it appears in many forms. The gold appears as a ring, engagement ring, those who are married or engaged. That gold appears as the ear ornament, earring. That gold appears as a bracelet. Gold appears as filling in somebody's tooth. In so many ways gold appears. But gold is one, right? In the same way, pure consciousness is one, infinite, eternal, all pervasive, like space. But it appears as so many different things at the physical level. Everything is different. A earring is different from the necklace. Both are made of gold. But if you take out the name and form, what happens? What remains? Only gold remains. The name and form is what appears, what makes us be different, see the difference. The name and form are superimposed. Essentially everything is gold. In the same way, whole of creation is only pure consciousness. But at the manifested level, it appears as the sun, as the moon, as the earth, as all the plants and trees, all the people, good and bad, one appearing as many. That is Advaita Vedanta. That is being explained here. Aham sarvasya prabhavaha. I am the origin of all. I am all. Everything is me alone. Bhagavan alone. Who else is there? What else is there? But he is being seen as different beings because of our misperception. That misperception is a temporary affliction. It can be removed. We can gain proper perception, and we can realize that we are all one, pure consciousness. That happens only in samadhi. It does not happen in waking state. It does not happen in dream state, not in deep sleep. It happens only in samadhi. When all the names and forms appear, only pure consciousness remains. I, you, everything, she, everything disappears into one ocean of, infinite ocean of pure consciousness. That's Ananda, Satchidananda, infinite bliss. There is no Ananda in the waking state, not in the dream state. Waking state, just a little bit, we strive for some pleasure here and there. It comes combined with lot of problems. That we saw in the chapter 5, verse number 22. Whatever happiness we get in this world, through everything we try to do. People try to make money, they marry, they have family, they have children, they have job, they like promotion, they enjoy position. All these things are people do to get happiness. But time and again, our experience shows there is no true happiness in this thing. They promise so many, deliver so little, combined with lot of problems. That we saw in chapter 5, verse 22. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkhayo-naya evate adyantavantah kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Samsparshaja bhoga means all the enjoyment. Bhoga means enjoyment that comes from other objects. Samsparsha, contact with other objects. Other object can be another person, it can be gold, it can be house, it can be position and power, it can be beauty, youth. From all these things, whatever happiness seems to come, samsparshaja bhogaha, really they cause only misery at the end. Dukkha yonaya evate, they are the cause of dukkha, misery. Because when they leave, they are here for a short time, they come with much effort. When they leave, they cause disappointment, misery. When youth leaves, old age comes, only misery. When youth is there, we have happiness. Oh, I am very young and strong, I can enjoy. How long will it last? Adyantavantaha, they have a beginning and an end. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkhayo evate. All the happiness, bhoga, coming from sparsha, contact with other objects, money, person, family, child, grandchild, position, power. Dukkhayo evate. They all only cause dukkha at the end, because they are going to leave sooner or later. Adyantavantaha, they have a beginning and an end. Definitely have an end. Nateshu ramate buddha. What is to be done? Buddha means a wise person who has wisdom. Teshu bhogeshu naramate. Does not take any delight in these things. If they come, they come. If they go, they go. He looks only for the source of all these things. That is the presence of the divine within us. There is true happiness. That is Satchidananda within us. Hidden within us. Has always been there. Never was absent. Never will be absent. We have to know that one. That is the purpose of Vedanta. Knowing your true nature, which is Satchidananda. That is why here we have to know the origin of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhavaha. I am the source and origin of everything. Mattah sarvam pravartate. Verse number 8. From me everything proceeds, everything evolves, everything comes. Iti matva. Knowing this, knowing God as the origin of everything. Buddhaha mam bhajante. Wise people worship me. How do they worship me? Bhava samanvitaha. That means they are worshipping God with great devotion and attachment. The attachment that the worldly person has for money, property, possession, power, family, children, etc., the attachment that ordinary people have for all these things, a devotee has for God. Detachment from all these things, attachment to God. Bhava samanvitaha. So that is the true knowledge, that everything comes from God and everything is God Himself. Appears to be very, very different from each other at the manifested level. If you go to the root, if you go to the origin, it all converges into one pure consciousness, that is Paramatma, Brahman. That is true knowledge. Iti matva, knowing like this, Buddha mam bhajante. People worship, wise people worship God and knowing the origin of everything. Now we go to verse number 9. Description of the devotees and how they benefit from their devotion in 9 and 10. Macchitta prana bodhayantah parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. When devotees meet, what do they do? And what do they benefit? Macchitta, the word Macchitta comes several times in the Gita. Macchitta means, Chitta means mind, Mat means me. Those whose minds are fixed on God, that means devotees of God. Ordinary person's mind is fixed on the world. Worldly activities, food and clothing and job and money, position, family, children, all the entertainment, sports and politics, this is what people think most of the time. But devotees think about God. Macchitta. They don't waste their time in thinking about world. There are so many things people think about. Now NBA playoffs are going on and there are whole TV channels where people speak only about sports. Entire channels, TV channels, what do? All the time the commentators speak about sports and they are paid for it. That's how they make their living. which team won, how many points who made, how many rushdowns somebody made, how many touchdowns somebody made, how many three-pointers somebody made. They talk about all these things. They have all these facts and figures at their fingertips. They are very knowledgeable about these things. That's how they make their living, by talking about sports. Then where is the time to think about God? All the time their minds are fixed on sports, what to speak in the next hour, like that one. That should not be. Machitta means devotees must keep their mind constantly fixed on God. How to do it will come in this chapter. How can I constantly think about God? Because I am seeing so many different things, doing so many things. How can I see God? That is the main topic of this chapter. How to see God in everything. We will come to that. Machitta means those devotees whose minds are fixed on me, on God. Madgata prana, that means their life is surrendered to me. God is their life. How something can be one's life? So life means most important thing is life, right? One thing that is important to all of us is our life. We should be alive first, then other things will come. Life is important. We try to save our life in every way from danger. Now, what is life? What is the most important thing? It depends upon whom you ask. For example, there is a young mother, first time mother, new baby, new mother, young mother. You ask her, what is the one most important thing in your life? My child. What else will she say? 24 hours she is concerned with the well-being of the child. Our all mothers were like that. They took care of us round the clock, sacrificing their sleep and comfort. What can an infant do? Middle of the night, infant starts crying. We don't know whether it is earache or stomach ache or it is hungry. The mother will know. She will do what is needed, get up from sleep, and that's most important. At that stage in her life, young mother's life, the child is the most important thing. Madhgata prana, that's my life. What's your life? My child is my life. It will change after some time when the child grows older and starts going to school, then other things will come. But at that time, Madhgata prana, for a devotee, God is my life. If you ask a devotee, name one thing most important to you in your life, you will say God. You will not say money, promotion, job, family, you will not say any. They may come later, but God. Machitta, Madhgata prana. What do they do when they meet? Parasparam bodhayantaha. They talk about God. Bodhayanta means they teach. They tell others what they know, what they have read. For example, when we meet like this, we have some audience here today. People are beginning to come. So what I am doing? I have read Gita. This is what I understood. It is here for you, if it makes sense. This is what devotees do. Parasparam bodhayantaha, telling each other what they have read, what they have heard. When you meet, when devotees meet, yesterday in the gospel I read this on this page, this is what Sri Ramakrishna said. And the other devotees say, oh, this is what I read in the Gita, this is what I read in the Holy Mother's life. They exchange information about God, what they have read, what they have heard, what they have known. Parasparam bodhaya, that's the best way to spend life, spend time. This is why Sri Ramakrishna said, holy company. Many times he emphasized the importance of holy company. When holy people meet with each other, what do they? They don't talk about football and sports and politics and stock market. They talk about God. That is what distinguishes devotees from ordinary people. Bodhayantah parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam. Always talking about, mam means me, God. Our conversation is about God. What do we say, study in Gita? About God. We talk about God. How God manifests in everything, that's what we talk about. We don't spend this time talking about worldly things, like politics and all these things going on in the world. We don't talk about those things. Those are not important. Kathayantascha mam nityam, talking about me at all times. What happens to them? What do they enjoy? Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Tushyanti means they enjoy supreme contentment. Tosha, santosha, tosha. Tushyanti. They are happy, content with talking about God. That gives them great joy and content. Ramanti, great joy. They enjoy so much. They rejoice talking about God. They enjoy talking about God. Once Sri Ramakrishna, when a pilgrimage, he went to Varanasi with Mathurnath Bishwas, and all the people were gathered there. They were talking about business matters. This Mathurnath Bishwas was a businessman, owner of the Kali temple in Dakshineshwar, and they were talking about business matters. Sri Ramakrishna became so upset, so sad. He cried. He cried to Divine Mother, "Oh Mother, where have you brought me? I was happy in Dakshineshwar, talking about God with devotees. You brought me here, these people are talking about business matters." He became extremely upset and cried to the Holy Divine Mother. So when devotees meet, they talk only about God. What they have heard, what they have read, what they have understood, and by doing that they find extreme joy and contentment. Tushyanti charamanti. That brings them the greatest joy. If you talk about worldly matters, they are turned off. They don't enjoy. Why are you talking about all these things now like this? So that is what we have to do is explained here. When we meet somebody, other devotees, we have to talk about God only. Or some scripture or something that we read, something that we heard, or that Swamiji spoke yesterday, last Sunday, about self-denial, self-manifestation. Very nice talk. He said this, that we should think. That enriches each other. That's how we grow, our devotion grows. That's what devotees should do. That is a nice verse, what we should do. Now, when devotees do like that, what benefit will they get? Already said, Tushyanti Ramanti. They enjoy and they feel great contentment and joy. More than that, God will shower His grace upon them. That comes in verse number 10. What God will do when we spend our time talking about Him. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Tesham, of those devotees who talk about God whenever they meet. Satata yuktanam. Satata means uninterruptedly, without interruption, without talking about worldly matters now and then. No, not wasting time like that. Satata yuktanam, always united. Yukta means combined with, or their minds are thinking about God. We are united with God mentally. Our mind is on God in some way, shape or other. All our work is worship. When I see somebody, I see God in that person. In this way, I am always united with God. I should be. I should try to be. Satata yuktanam, those who are always united with me. Priti purvakam bhajatam, they worship me with love, with devotion. Bhajatam priti purvakam, those who worship me with devotion, with love, adore me. What does the Lord do to them? Buddhi yogam dadami. I give buddhi yoga. Buddhi yoga means proper understanding of what God is. God is not in the image or in the photo. People worship trees and mountains. God is in everything in general way. But what is the truth? Buddhi yoga means what is the true knowledge about God? That He is in everything and He is everything. That is proper understanding. Intellectual union. Intellectual union means mentally associated with God at all times, even while eating. That came in the 9th chapter, Shloka 27. Whatever you do opposite to me, that means you remain in contact with me, including eating. Yadashnasi. 9:27 is a key verse. Yat karoshi yadashnasi, yajjuhoshi dadasi yat, Yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Sometimes I go back and refer to earlier slokas. That's how we have to remain connected, associate related ideas. Whatever you do, offer it to me. That's how I remain in contact with everything, with God at all, because I'm always doing something. The stock is offered to God. When I drink the water, it is offered to God. So dedicating, offer everything to me. Tat kurusha madarpanam 927. Yat karoshi, whatever you do, including adashnasi, whatever you eat. Specifically, eating is mentioned as an example of activity that people do. In this way, we are constantly connected, remain connected with God. Buddhi Yoga means proper understanding of God, that God is everything, from Him everything comes and we are all He. Our true nature is divine. Now, that's what the Upanishad says, Aham Brahmasmi Tattvamasi, all the Mahavakyas. And Swami Vivekananda said simply, each soul is potentially divine. Potentially divinity is within us, everyone. It is never away, never absent. But you have to realize that potential. You have to experience it. That's what we have to do in this life. Buddhi Yoga means proper understanding of one. Dadami, I will give them proper understanding. God gives us understanding about His true nature. He reveals His true nature to us. Without His grace, without His revelation, we can't understand God. It's He who does the revelation. It's He who reveals Himself to us in everything. Though we assume this to be ordinary objects, He reveals His presence in every object. That's His grace. Unless He reveals His true nature, we can't know, we can't see. With our ordinary instruments of mind, our mind is limited, generally thinking about the world and all kinds of thoughts. With this mind, we cannot see God unless God's grace descends upon us, unless He reveals to us. Dadami buddhi yogam, I give the proper understanding. He reveals His true nature to us. How? In everything, we'll study in this chapter. How to see God in everything. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. Now what does that buddhi yoga do to us? What's the advantage of getting proper knowledge of God? Yena mamupayanti te, by which, by that buddhi yoga, by that proper understanding, yena, by that understanding, by which, te mamupayanti, they reach me, we reach God. That means we become one with God, we merge in God, we realize God, we know that everything is He, including us. That realization will come. That's what we call God realization. Realizing the true nature of God, our identity with God. That realization has to come. How? By His grace. He has to give buddhi yoga to us. Why will He give the buddhi yoga? When we always think about Him, all conversation about Him. Then the previous verse, number 9. Always thinking about God, machitta madgata prana. God is my life. Most important thing. We should make God my life. Everything comes will later. We may have other things in life. We may have family, job and money. But we take care of all those things. But God is the most important thing. Machitta madgata prana parasparam bodhayanta. That is the previous verse. If you do all of that, what the Lord will do? Te buddhi yogam dadami. Those who worship me with love, bhajatam priti purvakam, without interruption, satata yuktanam, to them buddhi yogam dadami. I will give proper understanding about my true nature. What will that do? That buddhi yoga, yena, by which te mam upayanti, they reach me, we reach God. That's the goal of human life. What is the goal of human life? To reach God, to know God, to realize God. That will happen in this way. See how beautiful these verses are. So what we should do? Whenever we meet another person, another devotee, we should think about God, talk about God, not waste our time in worldly conversations. Who is doing what and all those things we should not do. So He gives us He will reveal His true nature to us. He has to reveal His true nature to us. Then what more he does, explained in verse number 11. Teshamevanukampartham ahamajnanajam tamaha nashayamyatma bhavastho jnanadipena bhasvata. What more does he do? God's grace is infinite. Everything he does for us. Teshamevanukampartham ahamajnanajam. That all that long string of words, Sandhi, has 5 different words. Tesham, to those people. Teshameva, to those people alone. Anukampartham, out of compassion. Aham, I. Ajnanajam tamaha. Ajnanajam, born of ignorance. Tama means tamas, ignorance. So many things are combined in the Sandhi. You have to separate the words. Tesham eva anukampartham aham ajnanajam tamaha. If you separate, it is easy to understand. Tamaha. Nashayami, I destroy. What does it destroy? Tamaha, ignorance. Of whom those people described earlier, devotees. Tesham. Why? Anukampartham, out of compassion. Anukampa means compassion. Out of infinite compassion, God gives us true knowledge. He gives us devotion, He gives us knowledge. He gives us renunciation, He gives us everything. Out of compassion for us, for the beings. Teshamevanukampartham. Aham means I, the Lord. Ajnanajam tamaha nashayami. Nasha means I destroy, tama means ignorance. Born of ajnana. Tama means darkness or ignorance. Born of our not knowing our true nature. Not knowing the nature of God, not knowing our true nature as being one with the divine. Nashayami, I destroy that ignorance. Atma bhavastaha, dwelling in their mind, in their heart. Atma bhava means God dwells in our heart. Atma bhava, dwelling in our heart. He is present in our heart even now. But we have to become aware of His presence. Most of the time we don't remember God is present within us. We only think of our body and mind. But He is all the time, without interruption, from beginning to end. Even when the body is not there, He is there. He is present in us. In the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna said, a devotee's heart is God's drawing room. Supposing there is a rich man who has a big bungalow, mansion, many rooms are there in his mansion. Now, most of the time he spends in one room. That is his favorite drawing room. In the same way, the devotee's heart is God's drawing room, Sri Ramakrishna said. If you are devoted to God, He is present in our heart. He is present even otherwise. Everybody's heart is present. But the devotee is aware of God's presence in his heart. God is present in the hearts of every being, whether they know it or not, accept it or not, believe it in it or not, He is present there unconditionally. But devotees become aware of His presence by His grace. He gives that awareness. He gives that awareness to us. Buddhi yogantam dadami. Why? Because of anukampartham, compassion for the devotees. Out of infinite compassion for devotees, God reveals His presence in us, in our heart. He is there, but He makes us aware of His presence. He is present in the heart of everybody. That comes many places in the Gita. For example, one place easy to remember, 15:15. Chapter 15, verse 15. There He clearly says, I am present in the hearts of all beings. Sarvasya chaham hridisannivishtaha. Sarvasya aham hridi sannivishtaha. 15:15. Shloka begins like that. Sarvasya chaham hridisannivishtaha. Matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha, like that one. I am present in the hearts of all the beings. Animals hearts also is present. People's hearts, good people, bad people also is present. In the most wicked person, God is present. The problem is the wicked man does not have the understanding, has no interest in knowing God, dismisses presence of God. Where is God? Doesn't want to know God is present within him as his innermost self. That's the wickedness, that's the ignorance. It will go away one day, but it will take time. That's what he says. Atma bhavastaha, verse number 11, being present in their heart, in the hearts of all the devotees, ajnanam tamaha nasayami, I will destroy their ignorance of my presence, make us aware of his presence. It's his grace that makes us aware of God's presence in us. Otherwise, we are not aware of God's presence. Unless he bestows his grace, we won't become aware of him, his presence in us. How does he do that one? Jnana deepena bhasvata, by the lustrous flame of knowledge. Jnana deepa. Knowledge means self-knowledge. Paravidya, not aparavidya. A person can become expert in some branch of aparavidya, science or social science or technology, whatever, mathematics or grammar, but that will not give knowledge of God. Paravidya, knowledge of God. That knowledge is true knowledge. This we see in the Gospel, in the second meeting of M. Mahendranath Gupta, author of Gospel with Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna asked him 4 questions. The third question was, what kind of person is your wife? Is she a jnani or ignorant person? It was a trap that Sri Ramakrishna laid. M falls into the trap and he says, oh, I am afraid she is ignorant, sir. Immediately Sri Ramakrishna rebuked her. Are you jnani that you are calling your wife ignorant? So M was under the impression that knowledge means knowledge of the world. He had studied philosophy and other, he was a principal in a high school, college. That kind of knowledge only M had studied. He thought that was knowledge. His wife had not studied any of those things. She didn't go to college. So he thought she was ignorant. When he said that one, Sri Ramakrishna immediately pounced upon him, as it were. And you are a jnani that you are calling your wife ignorant? Then he explains, jnana, knowledge means knowledge of God, not knowledge of the world. Knowledge is important for livelihood. When it is a place, Upanishad does not dismiss knowledge of the world as useless. It says it is useful. One has to have knowledge of the world. In the Upanishad, dve vidye veditavye parachaiva aparacha. Dve vidya, both kinds of knowledge, para apara vidya. Veditavya, they have to know. Person has to be educated in some field. Then knowledge of God, both are to be known. So that is jnana deepa. Jnana deepena, by the lamp light of knowledge, self-knowledge. Bhasvata, it is shining, blazing light of knowledge, self-knowledge. Tamaha nashayami, I destroy their ignorance of God. That means he gives us knowledge of himself. He reveals himself to us, being present in our hearts, out of compassion, anukampartha. So what God does is far more than what little thing we can do. We think we are trying to know God by our own effort. He has to reveal his nature to us. By his grace only we can know God. So you have to court his grace. How? By cultivating devotion, love for God, talking about God whenever we meet other devotees, holy company, not wasting our time and pursuing worldly objects and things. Not wasting time, precious time. Human time is very limited. In old age, nothing can be done. Only a few years are available for spiritual practice. In childhood, we don't know anything about God. And then in youth, all enjoyment, family, job, all those things, middle age. In old age, by the time we try to know something about God, body has become already old, sickness and everything. Balastavat kridasaktah tarnastavat tarniraktaha vruddhastavat chintamagnaha pare brahmani kopina lagnaha. Shankaracharya in this stotra. Balaha kridasakta, childhood goes in play. Taranastavat tarnirakta. Tarana means a youth. Usual person time goes in enjoyment. Marriage, love affair, family, this one, job. Vruddhastavat chinta magna. Old age comes, only regret memories, fading memories. Oh, I did not do that, I should have done that one. Why did I do that? I should not have done that one. Why this happened, why that happened. All thinking about past, and that too memory also becomes blurred, past events. They don't remember everything. Then death comes. Where is the time for God in our lives? So we have to make that time. That's our first step. In many places it is said, yesterday Swamiji was, Atmaganji was doing this spiritual talks class. In that spiritual talks, there is this statement, I think it was Swami Premananda or Swami Brahmananda, maybe mostly Premananda Swami. He says, if you take one step towards God, God will take 1,000 steps towards you. Some place in one of his letters, Swami Turiyananda wrote the same thing. If you take one step towards God, he will take 10 steps or 40 steps towards you. He said this from experience he is writing, Swami Turiyananda. That is the truth. But that one step we have to take. You have to tell God, I am interested in you. Then He will do the rest. If you don't think about God, if you are busy with the world, then He will let us play. Like the mother watching the child play with the toys. As long as child is busy with the toys, happy playing with the toys, she will let the child play. But when the child throws away the toys and cries for the mother, then she will come and take the child in her lap. So that first step is our step. So then what happens? Now we will do that verse number 11, then we will stop. Nāsayam atme bhavastaha jnana-deepena bhasvara. I destroy their ignorance of my true nature by the light of self-knowledge. That's His grace. Now that topic stops there. Now the topic changes. Arjuna Vacha. We will do that next time. Here's something interesting you note before leaving. In chapter 8, at the beginning of chapter 8, Arjuna asked 7 questions in 2 slokas. Kim tad brahma kim adhyatkam kim karma purushottama, like that. 7 questions in 4 lines. Here, you can see from verse 12 onwards, he asked 1 question in 7 slokas. 7 slokas to ask 1 question. That we'll do next time. Arjuna asked, how to see your presence in everything. God has been saying, I am present in everything. Tell me give me some examples. How can I see your presence in the chair? How can I see presence in this person, that person? They are human beings with good and bad quality. How can I see you there? Give me some examples. 7 slokas, 1 question. Rest of the chapter, Bhagavan's answer. See me in this object, see me in this way, see me this way. So we'll study that one, Vibhuti Yoga. We meet next time by the grace of God. Now let me say the closing prayer. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May all be happy. May all be free from diseases and other problems. May all have harmony and love for each other. No ill will, no hatred among beings. May there be peace in nature. May no one be subject to misery. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Adhyatmika Shanti, peace in our hearts. Adi Bhautika Shanti, peace and harmony amongst all beings. Adi Daivika Shanti, peace in nature. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. All of you stay well, and God willing we shall meet next week.